The stories that always capture my attention, especially when I see the headline, is when children are starved by their parents because it's unnecessary. To me, it shows a big level of being cruel to children, to being cruel to humanity. And I just don't think that people like that deserve an opportunity to ever roam around in our society again. And I think that is going to be a perfect description of this little girl's father, what this baby went through. No child should go through. I mean, you could see like it looks like she was already in a little bit of bad condition here, but she's such a beautiful little angel. But let me tell you guys about her story. But let me give you a quick disclaimer. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And of course, I'm getting this story from one of my favorite sources, which is Law and Crime. Thank y'all so much for the work that you do. A father in Georgia who was recently charged with murder had so badly malnourished, was recently charged with murder, had so badly malnourished and neglected his 4-year-old daughter. I don't know why they wrote it like that. That the girl had less than an ounce of water in her belly at the time of her death. Now, I don't know really what the average is, but clearly we know that that is not normal. That is really, really bad. So she was murdered and malnourished. She was starved. The shocking detail is that one of many that emerged nearly a month after the little girl by the name of Treasure McWay. Let me see if I can get that baby's face back up here for you. That's the father, Rodney McWay, just an idiot. But this little angel right here, that is 4-year-old Treasure McWay. And he treated her like trash. He didn't treat her like treasure at all. And she was pronounced dead at Children's Hospital in Atlanta on December the 11th. And her father, Rodney McWay, was subsequently arrested and charged with murder on December the 21st, according to Atlanta police report. McWay is charged with 13 other counts, including first and second degree child cruelty, kidnapping, and false imprisonment. So the part that when I was researching this story, I had difficulty with was trying to figure out, how did he kidnap his own child? So that we'll get into here in just a second. Kidnapped his own damn child. You didn't have custody to her. You didn't have to put her through this. And that's my point. So when people, even if this is your first time watching, I want y'all to understand that it might seem like I'm very disparaging to the criminals, and I might say things, I might joke and stuff like that. More than anything, I want y'all to remember these babies' faces. We are here to give these stories as a cautionary tale so that no other children have to go through this, because we're trying to put into the minds of people to let them know you have to go out of your way to do something like this. So why do that? Why not just leave this baby well enough alone? Like he looks like he's kind of young. I don't know if they gave the father's age here. I don't see it. It doesn't matter. I'm assuming he's probably in his mid-20s. That's what he looks like to me. McWay is charged with 13 other counts, including first and second degree child cruelty, kidnapping, and false imprisonment. Those records also show that the alleged abuses span from May of 2021, keep in mind the time frame, May of 2021 to December 2023. Notably, McWay was charged with battery, family violence for the very first time in June of 2022. Can we get a hashtag when you date thugs, you date death? Hashtag stupid is the stupid thugs. And all of our other hashtags. Hashtag thug zoo, thug lions. So they know that this is a violent person, probably already knew that. You could see it in his actions. You could tell by how he talks. But here's the problem when women deal with these thug lions, because they think, yeah, I know he's dangerous. Yeah, I know he's a fool, but he'll be a fool for me instead of to me. That's what they believe. But here's the thing with lions. What you don't do, you don't tame lions. You leave the wild lions alone. You leave them in their element, you leave them in nature. Why do we as humans continue to capture animals, put them in captivity, and then think that we can change their nature? That's a hell of a colloquialism, isn't it? Because that's essentially what we're doing. I want y'all to think about that. When you go capture lions, they're supposed to be free and roam in nature and do what nature do. Eagles, prairie dogs, dolphins, whales. They supposed to do what they do. They are not supposed to be in captivity. I think I got that correct. I could be wrong. Maybe some of y'all out there believe it, that zoos are proper things and that we should be out here capturing animals. I just don't think that's the way nature intended it. But nonetheless, I could say some other things, but that'll give me flags, so let me not say that. Police record states that he has estranged himself from his family in recent years, and that one relative said that he suffered from an addiction to ketamine or special K, so he's a drug head. The starvation and severe neglect experienced by Treasure McWay, the little girl, also extended to two other children in the home, boys ages 3 and 4, according to a copy of an arrest report obtained by Law and Crime. One of the children was autistic, according to police. After a complaint was filed to social services about the unsatisfactory conditions of Rodney McWay's home in Atlanta, Child Services removed the children from the home in late June. But within a week, police said that McWay traveled to Maryland, where the children's mother, Passion Mitchell, lived. Passion Mitchell is the mother of these kids. So I want y'all to hear this and tell me, should I not be at least saying some disparaging things about the mother? I want y'all to tell me when y'all hear these details. So he went from Atlanta to Maryland. He then stole her car, allegedly, and parked it at a train station as he brought the kids back to Georgia. Let me say that again. He traveled from Atlanta to Maryland. How? By train? By what? Airplane? How did he get there? So he had to have had money to travel unless somebody took him there. And if he had money to do that, then why would he not have money for his own car? But it says that he stole her car, left it parked at a train station as he brought the kids back to Georgia. So there you go, train station. So I'm assuming he took a train. So how did he take a train? Like he ain't got money for a car, but he got money for train tickets. I know it's big difference in cost of car compared to train, but damn. So he went out of his way to steal these kids, allegedly. Last month, when police showed up at the hospital to assess Treasure McWay's siblings, they noted that the boys' injuries included scratches to their face, chest, and back, as well as contusions and bruising. They were both underweight as well. Reports of child neglect and abuse were filed against McWay dating back to 2021, according to police, including a reported incident where he allegedly knocked his son's tooth out. Police said that the siblings were placed in the custody of their aunt while the mom came to Georgia from Maryland to get them. McWay had stopped all contact with her and social services workers once he allegedly kidnapped their children this summer. A copy of the autopsy report was not immediately available to Law and Crime, but Atlanta outlet WXIA reported Tuesday that medical examiners who assessed Treasure McWay confirmed that she was how old? 4 years old. This baby was 4 years old and she weighed 25 pounds. She weighed 25 pounds at the time of her death. and he took these children. To me, that sounds premeditated, and that sounds like murder, because you have to go out of your way to cause this to happen. That bothers me more than anything, because starving a child is one of the most inhumane and cruel things that you could do, because it is a slow and agonizing death. On average, a healthy child at the same age weigh roughly twice that amount. Even 50 pounds still sounds like that's a bit little, but police observed that the child's face appeared to be malnourished. Matter of fact, I think y'all could actually see that in the picture. Like this one. She doesn't look healthy as far as her weight. The child's face appearing to be malnourished, and the autopsy reported that only 0.5 milliliters or less than an ounce of fluid was actually in her stomach. According to data from Children's Healthcare on childhood hydration, toddlers need 4 cups of fluid every day. School-aged children need 5 cups, and older children need 7 to 8 cups of fluid per day. McWay, the father, allegedly kept his daughter and sons contained in one room and would only let them leave that room with his permission. When police responded to the home on December 11th in suburban Atlanta, they found only expired eggs and milk in the home and no other food. This has got to be one of the stupidest MFers imaginable. So he can't afford food, or can't afford to figure out how to do the application online to get food stamps, emergency food stamps, or not working, whatever it is, and you force those children to live in that condition when you can't even feed yourself with nothing. Like, he looks malnourished himself. Like, he don't even look like he eat himself. Why would you go out of your way to do this to these kids? The Gazette also reported that police bizarrely did not find a shred of clothing in the children's home. They noted that there were cameras placed throughout the property. So he had money for security cameras. Ain't that a bitch? Excuse my language. Some were allegedly pointed at the children's beds. So he was trying to monitor them. In a police interview, McWay allegedly said that his children were not allowed outside, and if his kids need something, he will take it to them. He also reportedly claimed to have left the boys with toys in their rooms. Court records show that McWay is represented by a public defender, and that he remains detained in the Fulton County Jail and held without bond, which I think that's correct. McWay's attorney did not immediately return a request for a comment from Law and Crime on Wednesday. McWay waived his initial appearance at Fulton County Courthouse and is slated to go to a judge by the name of Judge Ashley Drake next week for a pre-indictment hearing on January the 11th. And we hope that the judge gets this right, as far as I think this man needs a life sentence. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. You guys can always help us with our channel, and do me a favor and hit that thumbs up if you're watching this video right now. Share this, share this, share this. It'll bring more people to come watch our channel. Let's watch a couple of news videos.
A father accused of kidnapping his 4-year-old daughter, then starving her to death 2 weeks before Christmas, is now facing a malice murder charge. Rodney McWay appeared in court today, where a judge ordered him held without bond.
Records show state social services had received multiple reports of child abuse and neglect involving this family, dating back years. For weeks, the Fox 5 I team has asked, how did this happen? I-Team reporter Johnny Edwards obtained the DFCS case file and has some answers. Johnny.
That's right, Courtney. To say that little Treasure McWay slipped through the cracks of Child Protective Services would be a massive understatement. State records show her father kept authorities at bay simply by not answering his door. Now we've learned 2 agencies, one state and one local, are investigating their handling of this case.
They were intentionally neglected, and he resisted any attempt for intervention.
A single father accused of kidnapping, cruelty to children, and starving his own daughter to death faced the judge today. After hearing from an Atlanta homicide detective, the judge adding a charge of malice murder to the 14 felony charges that Rodney McWay already faces in the death of 4-year-old Treasure McWay and the alleged abuse of his other children. According to the detective, 31-year-old McWay is accused of withholding food, withholding water from Treasure, until in her final days, she couldn't stand up or sit up alone.
She was extremely emaciated, just pure bone.
In a far different picture than the one seen here on his Facebook page, but the Fox 5 I-Team has learned Atlanta police now doing an internal investigation into their own conduct in the case. That's because in the months leading up to Treasure McWay's death, caseworkers from the Division of Family and Children's Services asked police for help at least 3 times after the father allegedly snatched Treasure and her 2 brothers from their mother in Maryland.
It appears to me that a bunch of different systems here failed. And I will say this is one of the more troubling situations I've reviewed.
Atlanta 911.
Fulton County warrants show that at her death, Treasure weighed just 24 pounds, described as extremely malnourished and dehydrated.
Well, I'm trying to get an ambulance over here for a baby that's not breathing.
It all happened beyond this front door. According to the charges, a house of horrors for Treasure and her brothers, ages 3 and 5. The children locked in their rooms. Cameras aimed at their beds. The only food inside, some expired eggs and expired milk. The children watching as their father allegedly beat their mother and their 8-year-old half-sister. While all of these horrific things were happening here, our investigation found that several times these children crossed paths with adults who tried to do the right thing. They called authorities whose job it is to protect children who are being abused. But the steps authorities took wouldn't be enough to protect the children.
She said, I didn't see him feed him anything.
Wanda Polnitz met Rodney through a friend of her daughter. At first, she saw a single father struggling to raise 3 small children. She had a friend who agreed to be the children's live-in nanny. But that friend only lasted 3 nights there.
I called, Children and Family Services and told them I was very concerned. The first thing that came to mind is one of those children are gone. He's going to kill those children. He wasn't going to kill them physically. He was going to not feed them like he was doing. He was going to let them starve.
Wanda's call brought DFCS and police to the house in June. According to records, DFCS noted the children seemed hungry, as well as mold on the walls, the stench of urine, and exposed wiring, saying the home is deplorable and the children cry until they are too weak to continue. The father wasn't arrested. DFCS placed the children with their mother, who had already fled to Maryland. Within a few weeks, the father went to Maryland and took the children back. DFCS knew all about it. Records show that for weeks, they tried calling Rodney and knocking on his door, with no answer. The detective testified DFCS asked Atlanta police to check on the children in mid-July.
What happens after someone calls in for a wellness check? What is like the protocol?
An officer would go out to check on the children.
Did an officer go out?
No.
There was another call right before Halloween.
Atlanta 911, non-emergency.
Protocol.
An officer would go out to check on the children.
Did an officer go out?
No.
The detective testified DFCS asked Atlanta police to check on the children in mid-July.
What happens after someone calls in for a wellness check? What is like the protocol?
An officer would go out to check on the children.
Did an officer go out?
No.
They were asked to go check on these children. Did they? Did they go? And she replied, no. Let me tell you guys a story real quick, because y'all know I am not a person that's a race baiter. Most of everybody that listens to me knows that. But I will say that this is quite strange. There was a story that happened, I think it was some years ago. It was a handful of years ago. And there was a home alarm that went off in this white lady's house. I'm just telling y'all a story just to show that. And actually, I have a story here later on also to just show, like, I don't know what police are even doing at this point. And I'm not against police. I just don't understand what they're doing. This lady's home alarm went off, and it signaled that they thought that it might be a burglary. So the police showed up, and they hopped this woman's property fence. Hopped over the fence when this woman had signs posted everywhere that her property was being guarded by dogs, plural, guarded by dogs, signs everywhere. You can't miss the signs. So police expect for us to see stop signs and stop lights and yield signals and all of that stuff that I would expect for them to see signs all around your property, right? This police officer hopped the fence, and what ended up happening? Here come the dogs because there is a foreign intruder coming into their property. He shot and killed one of the dogs. He shot and killed her dog. I think the dog was 18 months old. They didn't pay for it. They barely apologized for it. And the woman didn't actually need the police presence. The reason I bring that up is because I wonder, like, it was that important for him to disregard those gates and warning signs that there were dogs there, and you'd kill a dog on this woman's property to just go and check and see if there's a burglary for property, for TVs, watches, chains, earrings, whatever. People usually steal jewelry and money and stuff like that. Stuff that can be replaced. Stuff that a lot of people actually have insurance on. Somebody called and specifically said that these children are in danger. They saw something and said something and begged for the police to show up, and they didn't send a single effing person. Those stories are not necessarily similar, but I don't understand how they can go so extreme in one situation and then just completely be nonchalant when you're talking about children, regardless of what race, what city, wherever. If they're children, if you are getting a phone call, you need to go check on these children. I'm not trying to be one of those people that said that race played a part in this, but it does make me kind of question why. Why didn't they go check on these children who needed the help?
There was another call right before Halloween.
And after 911.
If y'all can, do me a favor. If y'all are listening to the live stream, please hit that thumbs up. I know not everybody's going to disagree, but I did put a poll in the chat. Do y'all think that this man should do life in prison? Because we're still putting this back on the biological father. It's his kids. I say yes, he still needs to be in jail for life for this. Because it's not CPS's responsibility to raise your children. It's not police's responsibility to raise your children. As parents, it is y'all responsibility. Those other organizations are fail-safes put in place in order to try to prevent some of these things from happening. So ultimately, I'm not going to blame the police, but they just didn't do their damn job. That's what we paid them tax dollars for. Tax dollars pay their salary. Yes, there you go. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
non-emergency.
Yeah, this is Fulton County DFCS. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Need an officer to meet me at a home. We know he's there.
All right,
I know.
sending an officer to the location.
But 911 records show it took police more than an hour and a half to arrive. By then, DFCS had left, and police got no answer either. No representative of Atlanta police would speak to the Fox 5i team about the case, instead issuing a statement. Officers were dispatched to the home, but it does not appear officers had contact with Mr. McWay or the children during these calls. In an effort to ensure these calls were handled properly, the Atlanta Police Department's Office of Professional Standards has initiated an investigation into these calls.
Let me call this out also, especially with this being Atlanta. I'm going to assume that Atlanta has a lot of black people there, right? I'm just assuming. Atlanta has a lot of black people there. So can we also surmise that people on this police force, maybe the chief, maybe the officers, were black folks? If black folks really, really cared about this situation, don't you think that they could have got some fire up underneath these folks' feet and harried them and got them to this situation? Now, I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just assuming that there were probably a good amount, because I know that Atlanta got a ton of blacks there. It's one of the most populated large cities that is primarily black. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Attorney Tom Rawlings, who is a former juvenile court judge and former director of DFCS, reviewed the case files. He questioned why DFCS didn't seek an order of access from a juvenile court judge, which he described as sort of like a search warrant for a child.
Why didn't both the police and the agency and others, probation officer, make a stronger effort to ensure that Mr. McWay especially allowed someone to come in the house, especially after June of 2023, and check on these children? Nobody really pushed the issue, and as a result, this child died.
Now, DFCS leaders would not go on camera for this story, saying in a statement that they are also investigating what happened. DFCS said that, quote, "Our thoughts are with those who loved Treasure." The Georgia Office of the Child Advocate is also investigating. We were unable to reach the children's mother, and Rodney McWay's family had no comment. Russ, Gordy?
It is just so unspeakably sad. Obviously, the system failed these children, and Treasure in particular. Do we have any? But first tonight, a man is now behind bars, charged with murder in the death of a 4-year-old boy. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Russ Spencer.
I'm Courtney Bryant. Rodney McWay now faces multiple charges, including murder. Fox 5's Kim Leffler joins us now from the Fulton County Jail with more. Kim?
Well, Rodney McWay waived his scheduled first appearance here at the Fulton County Jail earlier this morning. In addition to that murder charge, police have also charged him with cruelty to children, kidnapping, and false imprisonment. Atlanta police took Rodney McWay into custody Thursday in connection to the death of a 4-year-old boy on Renfrew Court in southwest Atlanta. Officers got called to this home the morning of December 11th, where they discovered the 4-year-old boy who wasn't breathing. Medics rushed the child to the hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. McWay now faces several charges, including murder, cruelty to children in the first and second degree, kidnapping, and false imprisonment. In addition to the December charges, McWay also has charges dating back to June of this year and May of 2021. After hearing about the death, neighbors told Fox 5 the family kept to themselves, but they often saw children playing outside.
I don't really know him. When I come to visit my mother, I see him outside playing.
So far, Atlanta police have not said how McWay is connected to the 4-year-old boy or exactly how he died. Now, we have requested a copy of the arrest warrant in this case to find out more about exactly what led up to this child's death. As soon as we receive that, we'll bring that information right to you. At the Fulton County Jail this evening, Kim Leffler, Fox 5 News.
Kim, thanks.
So, let's go back to this. Treasure McWay, 4 years old. If this has been going on since 2021, we are now in 2024. How does he have access to children for that long? People had been calling. The mother knew that her kids were allegedly kidnapped, took her car, and you didn't come bringing the scorched earth to come get your kids if this man kidnapped your kids? To be real with y'all, none of this makes any sense at all. Whether it be family members or the mother not blowing the whistle on this situation, just didn't care, just let it happen. None of it makes any sense, because then I would have to question the biological mother also. Like, how does a man kidnap your children, steal your car, go back to Atlanta where y'all know he's at, you go down there to Atlanta to try to recover your kids and not able to get them? Maybe I'm just... Look, go to lawandcrime.com and y'all look this article up yourself and tell me how any of this makes any level of sense, because nobody can be this level of dumb. Not the police, not the dad, not the mom, not the family members. And these kids suffered. Why? This man clearly didn't want to be a parent, nor should he ever been allowed to. But then again, you know how we don't get to this point as we use these as a cautionary tale? Don't have kids by men who aren't good parents, who aren't good candidates to be parents. If a man don't have a job, if a man doesn't have a career, something he's doing that's positive. Matter of fact, that I've said this before. Women shouldn't have children by men under the age of 30 years old. How many of y'all have heard me say that before? There are some things that I've been trying to put in place and tell people, if you want to avoid situations like this, if you're not sure, there are some very, very basic things you can do. Number one, get a background check. Number two, don't have children with a man under the age of 30 years old. It doesn't mean they're going to be perfect, but it just means that you're just vetting this person a little bit more definitively. Number three, you should know what he does for a living. He should actually have a job. Number four, he should actually be able to take care of himself. Number five, maybe if he don't have a car, maybe he shouldn't be a parent. If he stole your car, then that means he didn't have a car. If he had no clothes, they said he didn't have a shred of clothes for the kids there, and he didn't have any food. So he probably didn't have barely any food for himself either. Why have kids by this person and multiple children? I just think that's a failure on the parents specifically. Why the police didn't show up, they're going to have to pay for that. But let me know what you guys think about this story. To Treasure McWay, R.I.P. I'm sorry, but none of this makes any sense. And we pray that that baby's soul rest in heaven. But we hope that the dad get a life sentence. We put a poll in the chat. Let me know what you guys think about this story, okay? Thank you.